Hello, everybody. It's CJ Miller across the Red River. It's beautiful Bossier City, uh, Louisiana. And yeah, I'm just like checking out the weather. My plants are doing really well. I let the rain kind of do the watering for me today, and it was good. I think what I'm going to end up doing is momentarily see how they're really doing well. These plants do thrive in all sorts of weather, I'm told. Uh, by the guy who bought them for me. And so I'm actually gonna take them inside in a little bit because we're gonna have a frost, and I don't know that they're gonna do well in the frost. So I'll set them just inside. Um, well, a potential frost. I'm not sure, but I'm going back inside right now. Hang on. By the way, ever since seeing the Nosferatu movie the other day, I've been on a Bill Skarsgård kick. So but I was a fan of his for a long time. Even before it, I was aware of some of the movies that he's done. But when he really got me, and I don't know if you guys saw it. Uh, what was the show? Castle Rock. He was in 2 seasons of Castle Rock, although in that second season it was mainly just as a tie-in and a cameo. Uh, he kind of played like a time traveling demon of Castle Rock, and of course, in the world of Stephen King, demons are atypical. They're not the same biblical demons that we know of from scripture. So but yeah, go figure. Um, but yeah, no, I'm here to talk about food. Hang on. This is the food. So it is none of it uh, was put together homemade, but it is a very much an infusion of culture that I like. The penne pasta, and this is a soy uh, flavored or chicken bits in a in an Asian soy sauce. Just like a box of chicken, and then toss that around with the penne pasta, and then finish it off with a little bit of blue cheese. Now, blue cheese. Where do you get from what culture? Ha ha ha! See what I did there? Does the blue cheese come from? I hear a lot of German, Italian. That kind of in right there where the German, uh, the Anglo meets the Latin, right in that German going into uh, Roman and Italian. Maybe a little bit of Greek if you're going to do feta or something. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. That's where I get. That's where some of my favorite cheeses come from. The inspirations, everything. So that's great. But then we have the penne pasta, which is primarily an Italian influence. Uh, but Asian culture makes use of a lot of different types of noodles too, and depending upon what part of Asia you're from, because yeah, Asia extends into even parts of Russia, the USSR, the old USSR, Russia, whatever. The we used to have that uh, debate: was Russia part of Asia or was it part of uh, Europe? And the fact is it's it's a little bit of both. Uh, so I don't know. And it may have been different. The lines may have been different. I don't know. Um, when I was growing up, there was the USSR. I guess that's what they're fighting over now. I think that, not to get political, but I think there's an attempt at a reformation of the USSR that's looming. Um, in some sort of way. Anyway, I don't want to think about that, but I do want to think about this pasta and this chicken in this soy sauce, topped with this blue cheese. So it's all mixed in, tossed together. Got my favorite house wine here at the CJ Miller House is Coca-Cola Zero. So yeah, we'll get a good piece, not too big of a piece, but piece of chicken, dip it, get some flavors. And I know what pasta tastes like, but I want the texture to fulfill it too. Because we get the crunchiness of the chicken, and then we have the al dente of this pasta. This is a really great. That's why I love penne pasta. It's got a range that you can stay within an al dente, even if it sits in the water just a moment or so longer than what's recommended. Uh, it won't get overdone, and you won't end up with gumminess like you will with some thinner pastas, you know. And then, so it's basically an easy pasta. And pretty much any brand will do. I'm not fond of that quick instant pasta because honestly, you know, there's some pastas you just like pop open and 2 or 3 minutes or something. It's like, why can't you just do a full on like pasta straight, you know, from any other kind of, you know, you know, it's kind of like rice. I'm in Louisiana. The amount of people that use instant rice in Louisiana just is staggeringly, you know, it's smacking to me. It's like, oh my God, it takes 15 minutes, uh, takes like 5 minutes to heat the water up to temperature, and then 15 minutes of the rice, or give or take. And you really could just, you know, have you some rice, some really, really awesome rice, and it not be too gummy, it not be sticky. You know what I mean? If it's sticky rice you want, don't rinse it. Uh, if the rice comes out and it's too sticky, you know, rinse it. You know, that's all you got to do. That's your solution there. Or put it in. If you're going to put it over sauce or gravy or something, it doesn't really matter if it's. It doesn't really matter if it clings anyway. Your rice will separate over a hot sauce will separate the rice. But usually with the pasta, you want something to cling, and sometimes with rice, even you want something to cling. So this is basically an infusion, primarily of I want to say European and Asian cuisine. The hint of a Latin influence. You know, you will really take a sort of a Latin influence is put you know, some other types of spices in it or whatever that you could do if you wanted to, like some green herbs or something would help that out. But really, just want to keep it like this, and let's get a good bite. This is married enough together. Although these are flavors that are going to work so well together, and they're well tossed, and so you can see the separate pieces. It's like just a chicken pasta salad, an Asian chicken pasta salad. Mm, this is so good. Damn it! What would have set this off would have been some water chestnuts and some green onions. I'm gonna continue to build on this. I could see this is coming. This is something that I'm gonna pull together, spring out on some people. They'll be like, what? And I'll be like, yeah, this is the easy meal. And I don't know. My family used to every once in a while used to get those cans of La Choy, LACHOY. It was an Asian. We had like your meats and things on top, or whatever, or maybe you had I don't know. It was like it was a really really great Asian food, Chinese Asian food, and yeah, I don't really see those around so much anymore. La Choy, do y'all remember that? I don't know. And for the longest time, it was the word at your grocery store or Chinese food, any really Asian food at all. Really, it was La Choy, some version of that. And my mother worked, you know, and my father worked a lot too. And So a lot of times it was like boxed dinners. Now, don't get me wrong, my father could cook. My mother could fry the hell out of a chicken too, by the way. But yeah, my father could cook, like awesome, awesome, great cooking. I'm like, oh my god, like because he probably learned it from his mother, who was, my grandmother, who was a real kick-ass, from scratch cook. That's back in the day when you didn't have, or when I say you editorially, people just they had, especially when you had like a large family, you did everything by hand, including make all your dumplings and flours and things from noodles. You made it from flour, or whatever your noodles, your dumpling, and everything like that. So it's probably where my dad picked it up from. But anyway, this is really good. Now, one thing I would do if I were going to have guests is I would think about getting. Well, let's see. Let me get in here. So I want to get the quality of this. I know it's the thick breading, and that's important for something like this. But hold on. And there we go. So this is thin bits of white meat chicken. Um, it's not really, it's not really minced or frittered or anything like that. So it's a really good quality popcorn chicken. Any any popcorn or chicken chunk of chicken would work like this, as long as it were of a neutral flavor. And then um, your favorite Asian sauce, Uh, this is not typical. This is not just straight up soy sauce. Or a teriyaki sauce. I think of soy. I could be wrong on this. I think of soy as Chinese, and I think of teriyaki as almost a Japanese. But I don't know. It's like maybe because there's so many different complex flavors within the blue cheese and the sauce. But I don't know. There's like I can tell where it's a soy base, but there's more to this. So what I'd have to do is I'd have to play around and come up. I'm going to really work on this, but I love, no matter what I do, I think I would stick with doing this. I would easily and happily serve uh, an Italian noodle such as a penne pasta with this tossed chicken. Now, um, yeah, I could do um, egg noodles or lo mein or anything like that would work really, really well. But if I wanted just a good blend or a good mix up and I wanted to do like a whimsical little fun tweak at it, then I would serve it most likely over um, this penne pasta. Now there is some sort of, it's not really, there's a, it's not really a strong flavor at all, but there is a light, very light peanut underneath, I feel like, in this sauce. And now I'm going to go check the ingredient list. I feel like there's a nut product. There's some sort of nut in that sauce that I'm tasting. Hang on. Okay, lots of soybean, lots of vegetable oil, which probably also contains nut oil, such as peanut oil, uh, and you know various things. But no, the woodiness that I'm getting is a very subtle presence of puree, an apple, and other things kind of pureed together in the sauce a little bit. So, but you can't tell because it's basically pureed and liquefied, and this is it's saucified. So yeah, but to have that and it be like so, um, I love that. I love a good flavor that it's just there because I have that palate. I can pick up so many different. There's pepper. There's the twang of an onion and the onion powder. Just I can pick up with my palate um, flavors that most people wouldn't know to recognize because it comes to me, um, if done right, in uh, I don't know. Flavor to me is almost like a storybook. Like it's almost like, okay, here's this flavor, and then wait, as that passes, it's taken on this quality. I can feel the garlic. Which by the way, garlic you'll find in a lot of Asian and Latin, and basically worldwide. You'll find that. I don't know where it originally hails from. I want to say, uh, a little bit of the um, Latin cultures, but I don't know. I don't know that all this stuff doesn't come, you know, didn't originate from India and then bridge out or whatever. It's kind of like, where does man really begin in his evolution from his humble beginnings? And I feel like, how some people say follow the money, I say follow the food, right? But yeah, so weird. I know that makes no sense. I'm busy. I'm about this food right now. This is delicious for one thing. It was There's so many different natural flavors in this um, sauce. Um, mhm. I was like, whoa! I would totally. It is not a cheap package of meat. It's not like one of those go to the dollar store and get like $1 of frozen chicken. Whatever. This was, uh, you know, but this was worth it. This is definitely something that I would have again. And I'm not much for chicken in a box like this, any sort of like Asian chicken, because I'm like, you know what? Let me go out and get some fresh fried chicken. I can get a lot more of it if I buy it or if I make it or something. But mhm. There was one time I hunted around for my favorite chicken wing, which were the blazing hot wings. And I never ever perfectly replicated them, but I came very close trying to do homemade recipes uh, and deciding actually the best replica of that blazing hot wing, which basically only comes in blazing chunks now. That's kind of what these are, but these are not blazing chunks, but that's what the texture of this. But if I want the blazing wings instead of the blazing chunks, what I have to use is fried chicken, um, and the best would be those pecan flavored crusted fried chicken wings that I've talked about, and then toss those in with a little bit of crystal hot sauce to taste. And preferably to do that before the baking, but you can do it after either way. Um, if you do it after the sauce, the if you do it after the let me stop eating. If you do your chicken wings first, then bake them or fry them or whatever your method, then what's going to happen is they're going to really, usually they're fried and then to a crust, and then you toss toss them in sauce and then finish them off in the oven and get like a nice crispy, crunchy crust. But if you do cook your wings all the way through and then throw sauce on them after, well, that will work too. That's the way they happen. They do it in restaurants or whatever. God, I'm like stuttering. I'm so overwhelmed with this delicious food, man. This is awesome. It's the carbs. Okay, so what I did today is I did really well. I went to uh, a meeting this morning, and while at the meeting, I had uh, what amounts to what you would think of as a continental breakfast at a restaurant or something like that. You know, the donuts, the occasional sausage and biscuit, and so and so I had that. That was my brunch, and then I didn't have anything else until I'm eating this. And that's about 12 hours. Uh, now so that's what you would call intermittent fasting, which is what I do on the days that I'm not doing keto. Any other days, I do any in the days that I'm not doing the intermittent fasting. Then what I do is I do keto, and I do keto in not really large portions throughout the day. Maybe it's one or two pieces of a chicken wing here, and then a couple of hours later, a little bit of a protein something. You know what I mean? Just every hour and a half to 2 hours, I'm eating just a little bit of a protein throughout the day, and that helps me be very efficient with protein. But anyway, I went to the meeting after having the meal, and then I went to the YMCA, and I had a sauna, and which is cool. I love to do that. And then I was planning on going to the YMCA with a friend. I mean, not the YMCA, but the gym with a friend later on. But life happens, and we weren't able to make that. But um, when I realized I wasn't going to make the gym, uh, then I took a brief walk, and I came back home and I made dinner, and it's great. So now I'm fixing to finish. I'm going to watch some Bill Skarsgård uh, videos and interviews on YouTube, because not only did I just see him as Nosferatu, the vampire, the German vampire, the German Dracula, basically, but he's going to be making appearances in the the mini series. I think I'm assuming it's a mini series. I don't know if it's going to be carried over into multiple seasons or not, but it's on Max, so it's probably going to be a limited series. Welcome to Derry, and yeah, so I feel like when they started to do the Welcome to Derry, that's right around the time that I think was it Hulu? I don't know, one of the other streaming things they had. They were doing Castle Rock, and of course, Bill Skarsgård featuring in that one. And basically, a lot of people from the Stephen King universe in that one. I mean, Sissy Spacek, uh, just rocked in that first season. By the way, go check it out. Haven't seen her in Stephen King since she did Carrie, that I'm aware of. you know, and Tim Robbins, great in that second season, you know, and but anyway, yeah, uh, we so we got Castle Rock, and then I think they got focused on this. Hey, we got this It, and then the sequel It, and then now this is really really hot, and I think I don't know how related it is, but it seems to me that when Castle Rock, that second season, when it was wrapping up and it wasn't going to be carried over for some reason, it wasn't going to be picked up. Um, that's not too long after that is when they started uh, focusing or playing around with the idea of Welcome to Derry, or at least a prequel to uh, the It movies. And would this, questions, would Bill Skarsgård be involved? No, he didn't sign on until sometime later. It was in development for quite a while, but they finally got it going on. And I hope, really, really hope it is everything that I want it to be, which is freaking awesome, you know. Now, I didn't quite realize it. Stories in the Stephen King catalog, his works, sometimes they'll refer to other stories or not. I knew that. But when I was in my early 20s, I discovered the Gunslinger series or the Dark Tower series. Yeah, I think it's a gun. Yeah, and just whatever. I think it's the Dark Tower series, and the first one was the Gunslinger. Anyway, basically, the story inspired by the Robert Browning poem "Rolling Child to the Dark Tower Came." Uh, it's being told, and basically, if you read that poem, you'll know the entire story for the most part. I mean, they're you know, it tells you character, motive, action, result of action, all of it. So it's just, you know, 7 or 8 volumes, along with some comic books that told it, and then a movie and the occasional references here and there. Um, that's basically, yeah, that's like, that's the work that ties all of Stephen King's universe together. So Stephen King, everything that he does, it's all tied together, all of it, through the Dark Tower verse, the King verse. I wonder. Now, I don't think Tabitha King uh, stuck herself into it, but Stephen King made use of a lot of references. You know, uh, indirectly, and sometimes pretty directly, such as the Emerald City Castle of the Wizard was in one of his books. I think it Wizard and Glass, maybe, I don't know. But then, of course, there's the golden sphere from uh, the movie Phantasm. But of course, it's referred to as the Harry Potter model, and with the slogan, "We'll kick the Slytherin out of you," or whatever. So I remember that these things, it's like really, really great. So it's like, wow, there was some gap in between those books to be able to come back and catch some more modern references. But yeah. Um, so what Stephen King in this story, not only does all of his work tie together, but it's every work, every imagined work, everything that we can ever think of, as you and I, everything. It's all on a plane of existence. It's all centered around this dark tower, which connects it all. And of course, it's in danger. And of course, uh, Roland has to, you know, battle it out with the Red King, and yeah, it's also uh, a bit of a King Arthur fabling in there as well, by the way. So I love it. But anyway, yeah. But also, isn't it great? Because we also have in comic books we have multiverses. Now, I think comic books were doing this early on. They were doing it first, but there's always been like some scientific theory about the realism. Now, whether things are tangible or not, they're real. Like if I say I love you for the human being that you are, that's real. That's a real intangible kind of thing, except for you know uh, if it's felt deeply. There's a psychological effect that affects the physiological body. You know what I mean? Like if I were to encounter you in public somewhere and we said hello, uh, then my heart would quicken a little bit with the, oh, gee, that's someone that I know, and someone that, that kind of experience would happen, and that would be real. And that love then is no longer intangible. It's tangible. It is the what was intangible is now having an effect on the physical world. So it actually becomes what we would call tangible. So dreams, yeah, sometimes our dreams are more than dreams. Sometimes our dreams are more than intangible. Sometimes our dreams uh, are real to us, even if it's just in the dream. The effect that the dream can have on the physical world, it certainly does matter. So there is a connectedness to this world. Say I go to sleep and I have a really, really bad dream about having an encounter with someone, and then I wake up, I'm in a really, really crappy, bad mood. And then I don't rectify that before I go out in the world and deal with my day. And then all of a sudden, I'm pissing everybody else off that I run into because I've had a bad dream and I didn't take time to truly to process it. Maybe I was in a rush or something to get out, and I'm running, and everybody else, I'm like, get out of my way, that kind of stuff. We can all have a bad day like that. So, in that way, how um, how the intangible imaginary dream has an effect on this, our physical world, via me being that conduit. And I think that's the lesson that we can take away, or that I can take away from some of the works of Stephen King. But Bill Skarsgård, boy, I've been a fan of his for a while. I loved him in Barbarian. He played such a sweet guy. Spoiler alert. Yeah, he's a sweet guy in that one. He normally plays like some twisted people. In that movie, Barbarian, basically just some twisted stuff happens to him. And Barbarian, if you ever have seen that movie, um, it is a hyper stylized, but definitely inspired by some H.P. Lovecraft, you know, story. And one of them that later on inspired a movie called Hell Night, 1981 or two, I think maybe 1981. And it featured Linda Blair, and she actually was part. Oh, they didn't call it producer back then, but she kind of put up her own money. She didn't get a production credit, but she definitely is one of the owners of the film, or whatever. And yeah, she's the one that taught Peter Barton into not giving up acting, but doing this movie with her. Doing a slasher, and that's basically what this is: a cross between a monster movie and a slasher. And so it was the movie Hell Night. And then later on, we get this story, Barbarian, which is it's changed. It's changed, but it's basically point by point by plot points. There are some connected tissues. Uh, Kudos for not entirely ripping it off and kind of giving a new narrative. And of course, it's also told through the modern longer movie. Barbarian is a longer movie than your typical 1980s slasher, and it had a bigger budget and was given a lot of it was given a lot of praise by critics, um, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's a well made movie, you know. In 1980s, the slasher movies, they were going to be big earners, but they weren't being made as blockbusters. They were being made on a shoestring budget and then being released and earning blockbuster numbers. Well, in modern times, some of the best movies, even being made with the lower budget, still by comparison, would almost be a blockbuster budget compared to what horror movies used to get, So, and Barbarian is one such movie where, um, yeah, and they went back to some practical effects with this too. And yeah, so if you see Hell Night and then you see Barbarian, Barbarian is a longer movie to watch. And it's not fraternity kids in in a haunted house overnight. It is people who rent an Airbnb in a neighborhood, in a depleted. So instead of a rundown, raggedy old mansion, they're basically in a rundown, raggedy, deserted neighborhood where people hardly ever go anymore. So, yeah, in this case, the isolation it's a little less plausible that you'd go through all that bullshit and then go back to it's weird. It's weird. So anyway, check those both out. Bill Skarsgård, great in Barbarian. Um, Linda Blair, Peter Barton. Uh, Vincent Van Patten, great in Hell Night as well. It's a um, okay. So I'm rambling, and that's because this food is so delicious, boy. Okay, I love you guys truly. Um, Love and light, peace. God bless and good night.